Good morning, artists. Today I'm just going to do a quick video as a follow-up to our Maplike Views project. And today we are going to be adding color. And one of the things we're going to talk about is coloring using a variety of different colors, as well as trying to work some texture into our artwork to make it look more realistic. So here is an artwork that I created using some texture plates and just trying to develop some textures to make things look real. Now, I know that you at home don't have texture plates, so we're going to work on developing these types of textures just through using different coloring techniques. All right, so let's get started. Here is my finished drawing, and I know that it's kind of hard to see because I haven't colored it yet, and I went super lightly with my lines so that I could make sure they wouldn't show up after I colored. So if you take a look at my map, you might notice that I've got some roads happening here, and then some driveways, some houses, some bodies of water here, and then this area over here I meant to look kind of like farmland. And farmland is one of the areas, or these natural elements are one of the areas where you can really develop a lot of texture. So I want to show you what sort of inspired this particular artwork. So let me show you a painting that I found. Here it is. This is one I may have shown you last week, but I'm not sure. So here is a painting that's a map-like view, much like what we're working on. And one of the things that I love about this painting, there's a little bit of a glare here from the lights above, but you get the idea. I love the way that they show different textures here to represent what's going on in the fields. So here is a big farm, and you can see that there are different shapes and colors in here that are developed. Here you can see these are trees because of the way that they are painted. And then there's this huge cluster over here, and then a body of water. So using those ideas, we are now going to color our maps. So one of the first things that usually I like to do, a little bit blurry here. So let me see if I can get that worked out. Hopefully it will. There we go. Now it's a little bit more in focus. Usually one of the first things I like to do is I like to, again, come back to my roads. So I'm not going to color all of them, but basically what I like to do, if they are pavement, I like to come through and just lightly color them with a black to get that nice. I mean, you could use gray, of course, as well. Oh yeah, and I guess I should mention, using colored pencils or crayons is the way to go with your map. So I'm just gonna kind of very lightly color over. This is like what I would consider the main road in this particular artwork. Just gonna kind of lightly go over it. And then when I get to the end of this street, I'm going to come back with a yellow or an orange or whatever color you want to use. And I'm just going to put those little lines back in that I wanted to show. You know, maybe here there's like a one straight line because you're not allowed to pass there. Okay, so that is already looking more like a realistic road. Okay, so next, why don't we talk about this body of water here and how to make it look sort of more like water. You know, of course, you could just color it straight up one color. What I'm going to do is just take a light color first. So let me show you what I've done. Is I've grabbed 3 different values of blue. So this is a really light blue, this is a medium blue, and then this is a dark blue. And I'm going to use these different values to play off one another and create texture so that when you look at my artwork, when the viewer sees it, they'll know that this is a body of water, like a lake, or perhaps the ocean, or a pond. So first off, I'm kind of just coloring lightly, and leaving a little bit of white left behind. That's on purpose. I'm not pressing down too hard. So I'm not going to color the whole thing because I don't want you guys to just be watching me color the whole time. All right, so let's say that the whole thing is colored. Okay, so there's my beginning. Now already there's a texture there. So if you like the way that it looks when you've just created that coloring texture, you can leave it. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over now with different lines to kind of like show that, you know, there are ripples happening in this water. So again, just kind of textured by leaving those spaces between the colors. So again, if you get to this point and you feel like, okay, I really like the way that looks, just leave it that way. I'm going to come back and I'm going to add even a darker value and kind of really make it look like there are waves throughout this. The water is rippling and moving. So I'm kind of coloring in the direction that I think the waves would be moving. And then when I like how it looks, I'm going to stop. And I'm liking that right now. It even looks like there's some waves kind of rolling through there. So that would be how I would color the water. Now, I want to come back to developing the farm fields here. So I'm just going to show you this example that I think I showed you last week. So if you've ever seen a photo from above over land, a large area of land, or maybe even you've been in a plane before, it's really cool because areas of, you know, big fields or maybe farmland almost look sort of like a patchwork quilt. So each one is a little bit different of a color, and there are lines headed in different directions, perhaps showing different crops that have been planted, or maybe there are fields that have been plowed, so you're seeing some lines. So I'm going to show you how to develop these different fields and how to make it look like that. So the first thing that I usually do is that I make the dirt pathways or roads that go between. So those little areas. So that's these right here. So I'm just going to take a crayon. Now I'm using a crayon this time because these areas aren't super thin, so I can color relatively quickly in here and between. Now, if you are working on a really, really detailed area, it's better to use a colored pencil. If you're working on a larger area, crayons might be the material that you want to use. All right, so I'll just do this little section of farmland here. My idea was this was the farm. This was a fenced-in field for some animals here, maybe horses or cows, who knows. All right, so there's my farm fields and the roads to get to them. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start to develop the different colors. So in this field, I'm going to make it kind of look like it's a lighter color than what I just used. But it's going to look like maybe a plowed field, okay? And in this one, maybe I'm going to now work in some gold. So I'm just going to make almost like stripes going through this field here. And I'm purposefully leaving space between so that it looks like rows. Now in this next one, I think this next area, I'm going to make lines going in this direction this time. And I kind of wish I had a little bit darker of a brown. So I'm going to come over here, and I have a colored pencil so that I can develop this a little bit better. And I'm going to do some rows. Okay, now I can come back with my darker green, and I'm just going to lightly color over. So now I've got some rows of something growing in that field. Okay, next one, let's see. I think this next one's going to have, I'm looking for an example here. I think I'm going to do do this brown one. I'm going to make it go in this direction this time. So I like to make the lines going in different directions, like these are rows of plants. And now I'm going to come back. I think I have an even darker green over here. Yep, colored pencil that I can then put through here. And actually, I think I can just color right over my other lines and they'll still show up. So basically the idea here is to create some different lines moving in different directions, and then it gives you that kind of textured look of farm fields. So I would continue to develop this in all these areas. One of the things that I just want to show you before we move on is I love these little areas of clustered trees as well. And that was sort of what I had in mind over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my really dark green crayon and I'm going to start to just like color in kind of like circles. But, you know, and some people may say, oh, it looks like you're scribbling. Well, I kind of am. I'm actually coloring in the shape that I would imagine these trees to be in. So this is a little cluster of trees here. So I'm coloring in that shape over and over again. Now I'm going to come back with, I think I'm going to do a lighter green. And I'm just going to work in to these areas. And then finally, to fill in the spaces, I think I'm just going to come back with yet another green. And the cool thing is you can kind of color over the top of the whole thing. And now this looks like a little patch of trees. Okay. So you can see I'm using a variety of different materials, a variety of different colors, you know, light greens to dark greens. So continue to color your artwork, develop all the different areas until everything is colored. And one of the things that just occurred to me is that I want to show you sometimes in a map, you know, you might want to make your streets different colors. So here, there's some dirt roads, of course. And then I've got like these main streets that are happening. But then over here in this yellow area, this was supposed to be an airport. So I just made the runway yellow to make it look a little bit different. Again, giving it variety. My buildings here are gray. Maybe there's metal roofs happening. So that's something for you to think about. Here's a student artwork that I want to show you. This was a map that was made of an island, which I thought was really cool. And here, they even use the symbol. Like, so this is a hospital because of that symbol of the cross there. That's a hospital, and so I know that. So make sure that when you are labeling things on your map, you know, if they have different symbols, you should add those in to give it to make it look more real and interesting. So continue to develop your artwork until all of the space is colored. Oh, I have one more I wanted to show you. Here was a student artwork recently, and I really loved this map, so I just wanted to point this out to you. Anyway, have a wonderful time coloring your maps, and I am looking forward to working with you next week. We're going to do a special project because it's almost the holidays and our big vacation. So have a great week, and we'll see you then.